Good evening. I'm Vanessa Mishania. The number of coronavirus cases right here in Washington state has now surpassed 1,700. Here's the numbers released just this afternoon. So far, there are 1,793 people who have tested positive for the virus. The majority of those cases are in King and Snohomish County. The number of deaths linked to coronavirus is right now at 94. And it is important to note here that the number of people who have tested negative, 25,328. Today, King County said it will be working with Harborview Medical Center to open a new isolation and recovery center. So that will be at the Harborview Hall building right in Seattle on 9th Avenue. So the space can hold up to 45 people recovering from the virus. And more cities across the nation are deciding to battle the virus on their own terms. Today, the mayor of Everett issues a directive for all residents to stay home as the coronavirus spreads. King 5 Kayla Lafferty spoke with Mayor Cassie Franklin about what this means for the people of Everett.
Closed signs are up on businesses and sidewalks are empty in downtown Everett after Mayor Cassie Franklin decided that people need to stay home.
I had to act in this way to protect my local community, what I'm seeing in our city, and I feel that this was the right time to issue this directive.
This does not include jobs considered essential like doctors, nurses, even childcare workers.
Somebody asked me about childcare. Why do we have kids still gathering? Well, nurses and doctors need some place to bring their children so that they can go to work and take care of those that are sick.
Businesses are also asked to close, except for places like pharmacies, grocery stores, banks, and more.
If we have a business that is developing ventilators, we want to make sure that they stay operational. And obviously we don't want to interrupt the food supply chain, so we need those businesses to stay operational.
This decision is one of the first in our state. So Governor Inslee hasn't even done anything like this in the state. So why Everett? Why are you putting this in place here in Everett?
I was driving home from my office at around 5, and it was still rush hour traffic, and I felt the need to communicate more boldly with our residents the urgency of this matter, that we need to act quickly now to save lives in our community.
Under the directive, you can still go to the store or even out on walks, runs, or hikes as long as you're following social distancing guidelines.
I know this is a stressful time. It's okay to go outside and take a walk, but really it is so important that you stay within your household unit and reduce the spread. Even if you don't have any symptoms, you can be a carrier.
In Everett, Kayla Lafferty, King 5 News.
So I'm asking you, and you may say I am pleading with you, to stay home, unless it is necessary for you to go out.
That plea from Governor Inslee came yesterday as the number of confirmed cases in the state rises. But he did stop short of ordering a shelter in place. He says the state has already asked people to do much of what an order like that would entail. Meanwhile, the 3 biggest cities in America are locked down right now. That's New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. And the governors of Illinois, New York, and California are ordering everyone to stay home unless they have vital reasons to go out. Oregon Governor Kate Brown is working on a stay-home order this weekend, but did not provide any details on whether the order would be citywide, countywide, or statewide. Nearly 1 in 5 Americans must now shelter in place.
We're doing meeting with businesses where they don't understand the verbal conversation. We're then going to serve them with a notice.
Well, with the shutdown in place in California, officers are cracking down on businesses that are non-essential but are staying open. Also, deputies in the Golden State are taking people's temperature before they even enter the sheriff's department and before they enter every room. And in Oakland, some businesses, they're boarding up their windows to protect themselves from looters. To Europe now, where there are new numbers on the toll of the coronavirus pandemic, and those numbers are startling. Italy today reports 793 deaths in one day alone. So behind me is video from Rome, and you can see this street, once filled with cars, is now pretty much deserted. The Italian government announced that all parks, public gardens, and playgrounds will be closed beginning today for at least 5 days. Britain today also joined the growing list of European countries shutting down public places to try and control the spread of coronavirus. NBC's Molly Hunter reports now from London.
This morning, deserted, eerily quiet streets, not just in Rome, also in Paris, Madrid, and in central London. Europe is now the epicenter of the global pandemic. More people are dying of COVID-19 here than anywhere else. And hospitals now preparing for the worst. In Bergamo, in northern Italy, Sky News gained access to an ICU there. The doctor had advice for the rest of the world.
What I would suggest is just shut down to stop all the outbreak and not come in this kind of situation.
Here in the UK, finally catching up to its neighbors, closing schools and announcing a sweeping social shutdown. On Friday night, bars, restaurants, gyms, and theaters all going dark, but not quite a full lockdown.
You may think that you're invincible, but there is no guarantee that you will get mild symptoms.
The biggest fear, the same as back in the U.S., overwhelming the healthcare system. But there is hope. In city after city this week, grateful nations cheering for their healthcare workers.
Now, after the government's new restrictions, cafes, bakeries like this one, bars, all closed except for takeout. The government here watching Italy and, of course, the rest of Europe very carefully, not ruling out further stricter restrictions. Molly Hunter, NBC News, London.
Some welcome good news. The outbreak in China might be slowing down. So today, the city of Wuhan, where the first reported case of the new coronavirus emerged, reported no new or suspected cases again for a third consecutive day. So Wuhan must go 14 straight days without a new case in order for the current and very strict travel restrictions to be lifted. China currently has a total of 81,008 cases and 3,255 deaths. A total of 71,740 people have been declared cured and released from hospitals. Back in the United States, lawmakers in Washington, D.C. are right now working on helping Americans impacted by this outbreak. The White House Coronavirus Task Force says that the U.S. has enacted the Stafford Act to declare a major disaster response.
This is the first time in our nation's history that a president's used the Stafford Act to declare a major disaster in response to a public health crisis. Never happened before.
So what the Stafford Act does is it empowers the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, to help state and local governments during natural catastrophes. Again, usually we think of major floods and hurricanes as natural catastrophes. In this case, it is the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, congressional lawmakers are working through the weekend on an economic stimulus package. So the proposal, introduced by Senate Republicans, would make direct payments right to Americans, up to $1,200 for a single person, $500 per child, and $2,400 per couple. So the funds would change based on your income. Senate Democrats, however, want to pass legislation that expands unemployment benefits instead of a one-time payment to families.
It's only been 2 days since Senate Republicans introduced the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act to give shape and structure to these urgent discussions.
The hope from Senate leaders is to hold an initial vote on the package tomorrow and then have it pass the Senate on Monday. Well, back here at home, Safeway and Albertsons stores are now offering special shopping hours for customers at a higher risk of contracting coronavirus. So the shopping hours are from 7 to 9 a.m. every Tuesday and Thursday. They're meant for senior citizens, people with compromised immune systems, and pregnant women. Other stores such as Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, and Costco, they're all doing the same thing. Well, Starbucks is officially closing all of its cafes now and moving to drive-through and delivery only. So previously, you can still walk right into the cafe, pick up your mobile order, but now you cannot do that. You can't stay inside. It'll just not be allowed. The company said it made the move to protect the health and well-being of its staff as well as its customers. Well, tonight, Skagit County public health officials are investigating a cluster of COVID-19 cases to a meeting involving 56 people on March 10th. So since that meeting, there are now 11 confirmed cases and another 32 also ill with what appears to be COVID-19. Again, those people all went to that same meeting. This afternoon, I talked to Dr. Howard Librand, who stressed the importance of social distancing.
The number of people who contracted the illness apparently through this single episode, it's pretty astounding, and certainly just reiterates the importance for physical distancing, not meeting in groups, not going within that 6-foot range of other people.
So again, of those 56 people, 43 have either been confirmed to have COVID-19 or showing symptoms. So Dr. Liburn says at the time that meeting happened, no one had been ill. Boeing is among big companies right now facing criticism from workers and disaster experts because they're still open. So it happens as we track the virus spreading across the state and the nation. Our Glenn Farley spoke to workers at the Everett plant about what's going on there.
There are concerns about this virus at work, especially for those folks who work here in Everett. And the company did provide some updated numbers on positive coronavirus cases. So those numbers are as follows. Everett now has 11 cases. 2 are reported in Renton, 1 in Auburn, 1 in Long Acres, and 2 at a Boeing facility in Colorado, for a total of 17 company-wide. It comes down to this: how do you keep the world's biggest factory open and producing planes as a pandemic threatens the people building them? Outside entrances, new hand-washing stations have been set up, although we didn't see anybody using them. Inside, the company says it's constantly cleaning. And we're hearing from lots of workers, anonymously. One, we're told we can go home without pay, but that is simply not an option for some. We have guys coming in sneezing and coughing daily because they are scared to be sick, fearing being laid off. What's the mood in the plant right now?
The mood in the plant is utter frustration, and that's from managers to hourly people.
I spoke with a different worker who does not want his identity shared. Tens of thousands of people show up here every day. These pictures taken in happier times. Boeing now has people who can work from home do so, but you have to assemble an airplane in person. They're not there.
No, in fact, anybody that wasn't a manager got sent home over a week ago.
Yes, this is the world's biggest building, but social distancing isn't as easy as you think.
When your elbows, and rear ends inside of an airplane, you don't have that option.
You know about the auto industry, which is shutting down because their employees, their line workers had similar complaints. Is that what Boeing should do?
I believe so.
What is the level of worry?
There's multiple levels of worry. We're worried about the financial aspects of the company right now as never before. There's a genuine worry amongst most employees that I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get anybody else sick, which is not something you usually hear. We're not helping the situation right now by staying open.
Glenn Farley, King 5 News.